Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm going to talk about, as described in the title, some of the premium credit cards that are out there. I think in one of my earlier live streams, I was talking about something where between TSA, PreCheck, Global Entry, and Clear, what's the benefit? Which one you should choose. And I said, like, if you had the Amex Platinum, uh, go with both, basically, since they're both covered by both. But I figured, like, you know what, there are other cards out there that might have those aspects that I might do a comparison of. I'm talking about premium cards, of course, like premium cards for the average person more than anything else. So not more average, but more of the middle class more than anything else. Compared to, let's say, the Centurion Black X, Centurion card and such, or the Amex Black card, as everyone now knows it, basically. So I'm going to do a comparison between the Amex Platinum, the Capital One Venture X card, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Bank of America Premium Awards Elite card, and also the Citi Executive Elite MasterCard or World Elite MasterCard. I'm not going to do the United Club Infinite card or the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Amex card or the Marriott Bonvoy Amex card because they still fall under Amex. Same thing with the Hilton Honors and the US Bank Altitude Visa Infinite card. I'm not too familiar with it, so I'm not going to do a comparison of that. But I just basically came up with a quick spreadsheet to help out everyone if they need to see what they, with help in what they need, basically. So with ado, let me just open up the spreadsheet, and here we go. So with it, as you see here, the okay, as you see here, basically, the Amex Platinum, the annual fee, of course, is $695. The Capital One Venture X is about $395 per year. This annual fee, of course. The Chase Sapphire Reserve, $550. The Bank of America is about $550. The Citi Advantage, it's under the A Advantage Executive World Elite card. Basically, it's about $450. Now, of course, you can have the ability to add an additional card holder to the existing card. And in this case, like, if you want an additional card for up to 3 card home members for Amex, it's about $175. Capital One, they don't really have any, but it's up to $0. Basically, you could have up to 4 authorized users under that one card, basically, and you have to pay no annual fee. For the Sapphire Reserve, $75 for each additional cardholder member. There's no limit, I think, but I'm pretty sure it's about 4, if I remember correctly. The Bank of America Elite card, it's about 0, it's pretty much nothing for any additional cardholder member. Same thing with the Citibank World Class Master Elite card. So in this case, looking at this from our price perspective of annual fees, it definitely looks like the Capital One and Venture X card makes absolute sense in this case, right? Because, honestly, it's about $400, $50 less than the Citi Master World Elite card, basically. But that's just the annual fee. Now, like, there can be other things in place as well too, and one of those things is, of course, the credits that you get off of it, but also at the same time with points earning as well too. So let's not forget that from that perspective, right? So you have the annual fee, but there are other things that could play into a factor of choosing the card as well too, because even though the annual fee is, whatever it is, like in this case with the Chase Reserve card, right? The Reserve card, it's $550, but in reality, it's really about $250 because you get $300 worth of travel credit, essentially. So basically, you can use that travel of $300 for, like, either plane, train, or automobile, whether it be taxi or subway, mass transit, whatever it may be, and it gets deducted off those points if you use your credit card for that. And then at that point, essentially, you're paying for $250 at that point, right? So let's think about that. So, like, I'm going to show you some of the nuance, some of the perks of having these cards, and then showing you overall what might the ideal situation you want to choose at that point. So let's go with the points per earning, basically. So, like, it's a matter of, like, how much points you can earn with the card itself, and I'm not going to explain the transfer of how, from those points to what it is dollar-wise. That's something you'll have to look up, or that one I'll probably create another one because it's a little bit longer and much more extensive at that point. But with the Amex Platinum, of course, you get 5 points per dollar on airfare purchase through the airline or through Amex Travel. Also 5 points on prepaid hotels booked through Amex Travel, and $1 per point on eligible purchases. Now on the Capital One Venture X card, of course, you get 10 miles per dollar on hotel car rentals booked through the Capital One travel portal. $5 miles per dollar on the in this case for flights, and of course 2 miles per dollar on other purchases. The Sapphire Reserve, of course. Now, if you use Lyft, you get 10 points on Lyft, and this is up to March 31st, 2025, which is pretty good. Then there's also cases of 10 points per dollar on Chase dining booked through Chase Ultimate Rewards. Now, this is a case, it's not for food, but it's more of if you book through the rewards to reserve some sort of restaurant or dining and then use it, then you get those 10x points. If you go outside of, let's say, Open Table or Resi, it doesn't work in that case. You get 10 points again, of course, on hotels and car rentals booked through the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal, of course. 10 points per dollar on Peloton equipment and accessory purchases of that, of course. Like, so if you're a Peloton user, you get $10, $10 or 10 points per dollar for every Peloton accessories you got at that point as well too, or equipment. You get 5 points per dollar on the flights booked through Chase Ultimate Rewards. You get 3 points per dollar on travel and dining purchases, meaning outside of the flights, if you book travel and dining through, if you book or travel like, through an airline or something outside the portal, let's say Amtrak or whatever it may be, you'll get 3 points on the dollar. If you, paid on for some food that like some restaurant you went off to, you get 3 points on that as well too. And 1 point for every other purchases at that point as well too. And then of course, you get the $300 annual travel credit, as I mentioned earlier, as an example, basically. So right now, looking at it between the three, basically, at this point right now, it'll look like the Chase Sapphire Reserve looks pretty good, right? And I mean, honestly, you got the Bank of America Rewards Elite, which is basically 2 points per dollar on travel and dining, 1.5 points per dollar on purchases, and of course, 75 extra on any other purchases. And then of course, there's the Citibank, World Elite MasterCard, 2 miles per dollar on American Airlines purchases and 1 mile per dollar on other purchases. So in this case, honestly, there's no even purpose to even bother with these two, because it makes absolutely no sense. Whereas, so let's just get rid of this because it makes no sense in this case. So now, between the three right now, which is the well-known of these three, more often than not, it looks like the Chase Sapphire Reserve makes more sense than Amex Platinum and the Capital One Venture X. So between that and, in this case, again, removing these two, because this makes no sense at this point. I mean, honestly, well, we'll still keep it, but looking at those points earnings, it's looking more like the Chase Sapphire Reserve makes more sense, because the fact is looking at it, it's about $550, and you gain more points at that point. Whereas even though you get 5 miles per dollar booked through Capital One Travel, you still get 2 miles per dollar on every other purchase, basically. So you can still redeem them for, travels, any travel tickets that you want to choose, plane tickets you want to choose at that point. Now let's come to the statement credits, which is the big perk of some of these cards. Now with Amex Platinum, you get up to $200 in airlines fee statement credits, meaning they'll give you for every year $200 to the airline that you've chosen for that year. So it doesn't apply to any other airline. It's more of a case where if you choose, let's say, Delta, you have to choose spend money on Delta to get those $200 credits. If you, let's say, go into JetBlue or American Airlines, and you never use Delta the entire year, you're not going to get those $200 credits. So sometimes it's advantageous to choose what airline you're going to use the most and put those $200 towards that. If let's say, in this case, let's say it's going to be Spirit, I would go $200, put those $200 credits in Spirit. So, because if you're going to use it up a lot, then you might as well go on that. You also get $200 in Uber Cash annually, meaning in this case, it's not $200 over, $200 annually, but it's broken down per month, $15 per month. And in those $15 per month, and then at the end of December, you get $30, basically doubles it off into $30. That comes out to an annual case of $200. It could be Uber Eats, Uber itself, or the other Uber stuff that's out there at this point. Honestly, it's still, you still pay out and get a lot of the perks off of that. Same thing with Saks Fifth Avenue. You get $100 of annual credits for Saks Fifth Avenue. Now, mind you, it's $50 for the first 6 months and $50 for the next 6 months. So this is a case where you're not going to see a case of having to utilize $100 for the entire year. And of course, then there's $200 prepaid hotels statement credits. But of course, in this case, you've got to book through Amex's portal, Amex's travel portal, to use to get those $200 hotel statement credits. Ideally, it makes sense, but sometimes, more often than not, you can get it much cheaper on Priceline or Hotels.com or wherever it may be. You can probably get it cheaper over Amex, unless you know that you want one of those perks. Because one of the things with an Amex Platinum is if you do a what's that called, a fine resorts and hotels or hotels collection, with those $200 credits, you get the $100 credits plus a free upgrade to the room if they have availability, plus also $50 in dining credits, and also massage and spa, whatever it may be. So sometimes that works out in the long run as well too. Now, there's also $240 in digital entertainment statement credits. Now that ranges from like the Disney Plus package, which is Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, to Peacock, to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Audible, New York Times, and the Peacock Network and such. So you have $240 basically in that annually in that's for that statement. Then there's of course up to $300 Equinox statement credits. If you're an Equinox member, it doesn't really break the bank in this case. It doesn't really hurt. It basically, if you're paying like close to $1,500, all right, then you're spending like pretty much $1,200 for Equinox for the annual year basically. This one is a nice perk as well too. You get $155 in Walmart Plus statement credits, meaning that as a Walmart Plus member, you get, which is to compete with the Amazons. One of the nice things about it is at the $150 credits, you can get the free delivery and such. But the other aspect is as well too is with Walmart Plus comes, if you're Walmart Plus, you also get Paramount Plus. So the $155 is not just for Walmart Plus as well too, but also for Paramount Plus. And if with Paramount Plus, there are some good shows that are out there that you might want to use at that point as well too. Now there's $300 in SoulCycle statement credits if you are a SoulCycle member, like similar to Equinox. In reality, I mean, it's not going to break the bank in that situation. And then, of course, this is the one that's really nice, is, of course, $189 for a Clear Plus membership. It comes out, if you've seen my live video earlier today, you'll see that basically Clear versus TSA, Global Entry, it really works out in the long run having both at this point. So, like, if you have Clear and Global Entry or pre-TSA, which TSA pre-check, but having them both does not hurt, and the fact that Amex covers it, it's pretty good. So overall, in total, let's say, put it this way, you have 200 plus 200 plus 100 plus 200 plus 240 plus 300 plus, I'm doing it in real time with you guys, 155 plus 189 plus 100. You get the total sum of about close to $1,684. I mean, depending on which ones you use, but close to $1,000. I mean, you're pretty much getting $1,000. So like this almost pretty much pays for the $695 annual fee at that point. Now with Capital One, of course, you get the $300 annual statement credits for bookings made through Capital One's travel portal, and of course a Global Entry or TSA pre-check. That's about $400. Kind of semi covers off that. If you do travel a lot, then it covers off the annual fee at that point as well too. Now there's the Chase Sapphire Reserve. The Chase Sapphire Reserve, as I mentioned earlier, like as an example, $300 in travel credits and each account anniversary. Put it this way, you get $300. You can basically use it for whatever you want to use. It's really good. It's really worthwhile. It could be for any type of travel, basically. As I mentioned, like Subway. At one point, I was doing Subway and Lyft and or Uber and or some plane tickets. I mean, I think I got a $50 round trip ticket basically from New York to I think DC or New York to Boston. I can't remember what it was at the time when it was fairly cheap. Or I think even Southwest at the time when Southwest was really cheap at that time, and it was pretty much paying for itself basically at that point. And I do have this card, as I mentioned. Caveat: I do have both the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Amex Platinum card. Also, another thing is with the Chase Sapphire, you do get another option, which is another perk, which is $10 in statement credits from GoPuff. I'm not a GoPuff person, so I don't know. It may or may not work. Who knows? You get up to $50 in monthly statement credits from Instacart purchases. Does it work? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But then, of course, there's the Global TSA pre-check. So honestly, it's more of a case of $400 right there. You get $400 basically if you do the TSA pre-check or the $300 in credits. Basically, you're pretty much getting it. It's almost paying for itself at that point, quite honestly. Bank of America, $300 airline incidental credits, $150 lifestyle credits, whether it be such as streaming, food delivery, fitness, ride hailing, or such. $100 on global TSA or global entry or pre-TSA. With the Citi card, you only get $100. I mean, honestly, this is pretty much nothing at this point. You might as well let's like say goodbye, sayonara to the Citibank card. Whereas the Bank of America card, it's okay in the sense, but at the same time, with the points per earning, you're pretty much not getting anything at that point. That's why you remove it. So it's up to you at this point if you really want to get something out of it. You know, with the airline incidental credits annually, if you travel a lot, or the $150. But it could be in any situation, basically, with a ride-hailing app, as well as, you know, whether it be Uber, Lyft, or any other ride-hailing app. Food delivery, whether it be Instacart, Grubhub, Seamless, and streaming services such as Netflix, Apple Plus, Paramount Plus, Peacock, whatever it may be. And now, let's look at the redemption options. So now, Amex, of course, you have a lot of redemptions that you can use, such as gift cards, merchandise, travel, transfer points to 17 airline partners and hotel partners. Capital One, you could transfer 15 airline miles and 3 hotel loyalty partners, or redeem for purchases on your site for 1 cent per mile. It kind of adds up in the long run if you travel a lot. The Chase Reserve, now this one is a pretty good one. 1.5 cents per travel towards the Ultimate Rewards, and you can pay yourself back at one point. You can pay yourself back essentially. It's a matter of how well this works out for you. Honestly, I would say this doesn't help out long-term wise, but it does work out to the point in some of the 12 airline partners that they have and some of the hotel partners that they work with. But paying yourself back comes out in the long run, so it does turn out to be a pretty decent aspect, quite honestly. But at the same time, if you want to look at it from a perspective of between the 3 cards, the Chase Reserve, because of the flexibility and the transfer points, I mean, honestly, the Reserve has fewer transfer partners than Amex, of course, but you can redeem points for the travel directly through the Chase portal and at 1.5 cents per 1.5 cents each. While the plan, we have to have 20, even though it has 20 airlines and transfer point partners, in total varied redemption options, and it all varies at that point as well too. Similar to with the Capital One Venture X card. Now, when it comes to lounge access, this is a big one, basically. Honestly, it's hard to rank in this situation, but honestly, I mean, that Bank of America and Citibank, I mean, the Bank of America is pretty much priority pass, so that pretty much negates it out, pretty much. If it had more than that, it would be great. Whereas now, the Amex, you have the Centurion Lounge, but now at this days, it used to be a Centurion Lounge where you and a guest can go, and now you have to pay for that guest. So in reality, it's good if you're going on your own. And there's also the case of you also get the priority pass at that point as well too. And of course you get the Delta Sky Club if you fly Delta, paying with your Amex card at that point as well too. It does help out in that time as well too. And then there's select Lufthansa lounges as well as some escape lounges as well too. Whereas Capital One, you have the Capital One lounges. You get up to 2 guests, and any other guests after that's $45. You get the priority pass select with the complimentary access for all guests, the Plaza Premium Lounge, and each other, such. Whereas the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you get the Chase Sapphire Lounge by the club. I've never seen it, never been to it. I wish it could, but it hasn't. And then of course the priority pass select as well too. The Citi card comes with the Admirals Club membership with 2 free guests or immediate family, and each authorized user receives Admiral access for themselves and up to 2 traveling cabins, which is nice. So in the long term, if you travel a lot, between the Amex, they all are pretty good at this point, honestly. There's no difference between them at all, honestly. If I would have to say to choose, I would say the Amex comes out more because of the fact that it offers more lounges for the primary account holder. But if you're traveling with others, that value changes considerably to the point where the Venture X then comes into play and comes into the aspect of coming a close second with their priority plus as well as the Plaza Premium and the Capital One Lounge access. Whereas the Sapphire Reserve does have the priority pass, but Chase is supposedly having plans for a Chase Sapphire Lounge by the club in 9 locations, but it's not out there right now. So I would just wait out for that in that situation. But honestly, it's not something I would bank on. And then of course there's all the travel purchase protection programs that are in place as well too. I could go into detail about it. Honestly, car rental, a lot of them do have it. You know what? I'm just going to remove. I'm going to remove Bank of America because looking at it now, unless you're a Bank of America customer, I don't think it's advantageous to you. Looking at the Citibank Advantage card, you can see right now there's literally no insurance protection or travel protection at all. So you might as well just get rid of the Citibank card. So the three big ones at this course, of course, are the Amex Platinum, Chase Sapphire Reserve, and of course the Capital One. Now, car rental coverage each have some coverage. Travel emergency assistance, Platinum does have. The Platinum does have. You get access to Global Assist Hotline for 24 hours for medical, legal, and financial or any other emergency coordination assistance more than 100 miles away from your home. I've heard rumors, I've heard stories of people like, having injuries and such, and, the Amex Platinum was able to get them and airlift them out to a proper hotel. And then there's also the Capital One, which provides you referrals, responsible for all costs involved, and then of course Chase Sapphire Reserve for travel emergency assistance for all costs. Then there's baggage loss or damage. Both Chase and Capital One up to $3,000 per passenger. For New York State residents, for Capital One, it's up to $2,000 per bag. Amex, it's $2,000 per check bags and $3,000 per carry-on bags. It's an aggregate, whereas in New York it is different, $2,000 per bag for suitcase, as well as with the $10,000 aggregate maximum limit. Baggage delays, Amex and Capital One don't have it. Chase does have it for up to $100 daily for up to 5 days if the bags are more than 6 hours late. Trip delay up to $5 per covered trip that is delayed more than 6 hours, capped at 2 claims per eligible card in 12 consecutive months. Capital One, of course, $500 as well too per ticket, delays more than 6 hours, similar to Chase. Cancellation interruptions, yes and no, but that's only if you're choosing, the insurance kind of type of thing more than anything else. And then, of course, the travel accident insurance, Amex doesn't cover it. Capital One does up to $1 million. Chase Reserve has up to $1 million plus up to $4,500 for emergency medical and dental coverage, subject to $50 deductible, emergency evacuation and transportation. As again in this case, Chase Amex Platinum has $100,000 per trip per person. $100,000, same thing with Chase. Capital One does not have it. Purchase protection up to 90 days for purchase of up to $10,000 and $50 annually for account member. Capital One within 90 days up to $10,000 per claim and $50,000 per account. With Chase, it's opened up at least at 6 months, where it's under 20 days of 6 months, up to $10,000 per claim and $50,000 per year. Extended warranty, they do add an extended warranty for manufacturer of up to 5 years, covers the actual amount of charge to the eligible car with a maximum of $10,000 per team and $5,000 per annual account. There's the return protection as well too, and then there's the cell phone protection, which is nice. Chase does not cover the cell phone protection. Amex Platinum and Capital One do, where Capital One up to $800 per 16 hours per 6 month per 12-month period of $50 deductible applied to it. Whereas in the Amex aspect, that are damaged or stolen but does not cover cosmetic or damaged or lost phones. Coverage is up to $800 liable per claim. So basically in this case, they won't cover if you scratch a phone or lose your phone. But if they do cover it gets damaged outside of you damaging it properly, like not cosmetic, like screen broken, that's cosmetic. If it's a full-on damage, they will cover that as well as if it's stolen. But of course, if your phone is stolen, you have to have a police report and such. But the bottom line is this, basically. Between the three right now, the three major ones, basically, I would say if it might be expensive to pay $395 for a credit card fee or more, or then some. But sometimes the best cards can cover the annual fees and then some. Honestly, like the Amex benefits definitely cover the $695 annual fee, similarly to the Capital One and Chase Reserve. If I had a choice, honestly, it's based on your choice on what you do. If you travel a lot, Amex Platinum works out. But at the same time, remember this: Amex is not always accepted in foreign countries, as is Chase and Capital One, where they have no foreign transaction fee, similar to Amex Platinum. But in these cases, the Chase Capital One and Chase Sapphire Reserve, there is no foreign transaction fee, and Visa and MasterCards are accepted globally at this point. Why? Because Amex has a higher interest rate, tax rate, or whatever maybe that you call it, that charges the vendors, and that's why a lot of them goes towards that. But if you do travel a lot, but also if you do use a lot of these services or a lot of these perks that I mentioned, Amex Platinum makes more sense than the Chase Sapphire Reserve. However, if you know you travel a lot and you're using both of these, I highly recommend both the Amex Platinum and the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Why the Amex Platinum? Because you get to it covers a lot of things, and it pays for itself. Similarly, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it pays for itself eventually at that point as well too. Honestly, I have both of these cards. I do not have the Capital One Venture X because why? It's unnecessary for me. I don't need the priority pass, but I do need those lounge accesses and such if I do travel, which I do a lot here and there. But with it, I would go, like I said, if I had a choice, if you have the ability to pay for it, then choose the Amex Platinum and the Chase Sapphire Reserve. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Please let me know your thoughts and comments. What do you guys recommend? What do you guys think? Do you think Amex Platinum is much more better than the Reserve, or Capital One is more better? Should have included the United Club Infinite, or the Delta SkyMile Reserve, or the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant, even though they're under the Amex. And then also at the same time, is it worthwhile to even do an annual fee of this nature, basically, with other credit cards that are out there, basically? If you're trying to build your credit, then these definitely don't work in this case. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Again, leave your thoughts in the comment section. And leave me your comments in the comment section, of course. I do read all my comments, and I do respond to them. When they warrant a response, and when I do get notified. Also, the other aspect as well, too, is if you like my video, like my content, like my channel, please subscribe. If you don't like them, but you still want to watch them, please subscribe again. And for those that have subscribed, I thank you for subscribing, and please keep watching. And also, if you like or dislike my videos, it'd be great to know so I can know what content to focus on at that point as well too. I gotta apologize. I'm a little basically I'm a little in disarray right now because I've been going back and forth, and I'm not in my home state right now. I'm back in New York. I shouldn't say home state, but my home where I live in California. I'm back in New York for now, and I don't have all the equipment I have around me, so I'm just working on with what I got, basically. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, unrehearsed. Until next time.